Welcome to session 5 of the Peer Networks. The aim of today is then a quick reminder of what we covered and may have gone out of your minds quite completely, given that it was a while back before Christmas. So we've definitely had a few sleeps, as it were, as some people keep saying, between the last time and now. But we looked at that business rhythm and about championing execution. So you've had some takeaways from that aspect. We'll just have a quick look at that in a moment, just a quick reminder. But also then, continue to get in the process of knowing each other through those challenges. But we're going to understand a bit more and explore the theme around cash. And it's, as I say, it's great that we've got Vernon here with us today to add some extra insights into what sort of extra support might be available then through the Growth Hub. And also specifically then what we're looking to do is to develop some takeaways around a key challenge that we're bringing, and so takeaways that we can then bring back into our businesses or take back. So in terms of timing, first 20 minutes or so before we then go into the breakouts, and Louise and I will work out whether actually we're going to go into 2 breakouts or whether we'll stay as one group today, depending on the exact numbers and the timings, and then we'll one group. I think that's what Louise is saying. So we'll stay as one group, and then we'll be so those spotlights will then go through till about 10 to 5, and we'll then sum up and wrap up with some takeaways for the next session. You know all of these things by now, but a quick reminder on let's try and make sure we haven't got too many interruptions going. And Louise has finally got her way, and instead of saying Chatham House rules on the confidentiality, it's the Fight Club rules that apply apparently. So Fight Club rules apply. Anything that's said in here stays in here, and we don't talk about Fight Club outside of the session. Then all right, good. So what we'll be looking for is those constructive challenges. So when you're listening to people raising their challenges or they're thinking, let's make sure we've got the constructive challenges, and let's do that primarily, if you remember, through questioning, if we can, rather than jumping to conclusions and telling people what we think as the first thing off the top of our head that they should do. Let's be asking those questions. Be present. Always look out for those takeaways and actions. And you've all had the charter, but essentially some of the key things are there already. We've done that a little bit. Here's a quick reminder of where we are. This is what we've covered so far as the themes and the sessions beforehand. And you'll recall that a lot of it is around bridging that strategy execution gap and making sure that we've got the world-class basics really going on within our businesses. From a scaling up point of view, we know that if we can get some of those fundamental basics working really well, then we've got that best chance of scaling up. So it's bridging that gap really through alignment, bridging that strategy execution gap. So this session, as I've said, is around cash is king and financial levers. And in the one-to-ones and the resources that you've had access to, then there's been some information on there, and I'll cover 1 or 2 things around that shortly. And then as you can see, the next session, which will be the final group session, will be more around the cohesive teams aspect of things, so around the people type issue. And we had the 90-day planning session last week. I think one or two of you attended, and we'll probably let you know about the next quarter's one that we will do. So Vernon, it might be a good time to hand over to you, if that's all right. I think we've got your in the presentation. Thank you. Do you want me to drive, or would you like to share your own screen?
You can drive if you like. I'll let you know when it's time to move forward. So good afternoon, everybody. Sounds like a very positive group. You've all had some good things happening over the last few weeks. That's really great to hear. So I'm Vernon Hogg. I'm the Access to Finance Manager for the Birmingham Growth Hub. And I have been in a role now for roughly about 16 months it is. And I have to say it's been a huge learning journey. But I think predominantly people have a lack of knowledge that in terms that we are available for supporting businesses, whether they are in that early stage or in that growth stage of access to finance. So where we fill the gap is very much around the fact of who do I speak to, where do I go to, and how do I engage in gaining growth for my business going forward. So we cover, next slide please, Kevin. So we cover all of these areas of access to finance. So whether you are in any of these categories here, we can facilitate and provide and have conversations with businesses across all of these sectors. And it doesn't really matter in terms of if it's something for growth in the business, if it's something for just financing, expansion, or new products that you're trying to launch. All aspects of finance I can speak to you about. It's quite sad in many cases. I pick up lots of calls from businesses where they failed to gain access, and really for pretty poor reasons. Either they weren't ready for that stage of finance going forward, or they really needed to do some more research and development. So they've been declined finance. And we pick up a number of those calls, and that's where we can work with businesses going forward. Myself and my colleagues are here to support you along that journey. But any of those areas there in terms of the sector that you are in, and including at the bottom there, the creative sector, and also social enterprise funding for CIC businesses, which out of pandemic are becoming much more popular, where we've got those community-based businesses starting up all across the region, supporting new founded areas and bringing great innovation and support to local ground up areas where support is needed from community aspect projects. So it's a really interesting area going forward as well, and certainly an area of expansion. So next slide, please, Kevin. So in terms of the areas that we can support you with on finance, whether you are a early stage startup business, where you may or may not be aware, we have the government supported startup funding, which is up to £25,000. But if there's more than one partner in the business, you can gain up to £25,000 each, with a maximum of £50,000. And that's a fixed term loan process. And that application process is very much around personal loan as opposed to the business loan. So it's classed as a personal loan. Therefore, the reason for that is the fact that at that stage, and at this stage, should I say, that the business hasn't gained traction, it hasn't proven itself, it hasn't revenue generated at this stage. So the responsibility of that loan sits with the individual, and that's how they apply the application process for the early stage startup loan. We are happy to engage in conversation with businesses that are pre-revenue, so therefore they are ready for launch, but haven't actually sold anything as yet. They may have what they call the minimum viable product. So in other words, they have their product ready for launch, but it's not gone to market. So therefore they might need funding to get it to market, whether that be for marketing or routes to market, or it may be that they need investment for digital platform, if it's e-commerce based platform as well. So happy to engage in those conversations. And then we have the straightforward debt funding loans, which is borrow a certain amount of money over a fixed period of time, over a set amount of years at a fixed interest rate, so straightforward debt funding. And that is available to more established businesses as opposed to early stage businesses from a debt funding aspect. Then moving on to what is becoming more and more popular now with earlier stage startups and early stage businesses is angel investment and crowdfunding. This is certainly a growth area I'm finding across the region. To give you an idea of this, that from an angel investment point of view, these are usually private individuals, or what we call high net worth individuals, either in the region or out of the region, where they are wishing to invest in early stage businesses. Now, obviously, the return for that would be an equity stake in the business, which would be determined between you and the angel investor. But the other aspect of an angel investor, they can bring great knowledge to a business. Certainly, if they are aligned to the business that you're getting off the ground, or you have already established, but at that next stage needing investment. So they can bring great knowledge to a business. And angel investment, ideally, as you can imagine, the relationship needs to be good. It needs to be a working relationship. And there has to be alignment between the business owner and the angel investor to make that actually work as well. Another popular area growing hugely, and we've just had a huge successful round with a new creative and platform-based, digital-based business in Birmingham on crowdfunding. They've just raised over £700,000 for a startup, and they are an MVP business. They're a business with a product that only launched literally 2 weeks ago. So they're very new to market, but because of their business plan, because their pitch deck and what it was they were trying to achieve and the sector they were trying to disrupt was significant, Of course, people have jumped in. They've got over 150 investors to make up that 706,000 they've raised. But that just demonstrates the fact that crowdfunding can work, and an early stage business can actually raise funding for crowdfunding to get investment into their business. As people move on from angel and crowdfunding, this is where we start talking to the equity investments and venture capital houses. So once we've burned the initial investment and the business is ready for that next stage of expansion, whether that be UK wide or whether it be on the international markets, where the need to raise a significant amount of investment, this is where equity investment and venture capital houses come into play. And it's also at this point where angel investment and the crowdfunding will finish their relationship, and the business will move to its next stage generation of equity investment and venture capital. Next slide, please, Kevin. So in terms of financial support, all aspects are covered in terms of what I do with access to finance, whether it be, as I said earlier, for business growth and expansion, whether it may be for premises moves and investment, or it could potentially be for people investment. We are seeing out of pandemic, the rise of vacancies within businesses is significant, and people are actually raising funds to invest in getting the right people into their businesses, and we can raise funding for that process. Also, again, for cash flow, where lots of businesses through pandemic have burnt through capital resources and been through the revenues they have behind them in the bank as their security, where they've been through that cash flow. And now, as they're experiencing business growth to new markets, new sectors, or the launching of new products, where they now need to have cash flow around them to support the growth of business. And we can arrange cash flow finance for those people. Asset purchase, if you need to buy new equipment, or you're bringing new technology or new innovation into the business, again, that's also fundable. So in terms of business growth, there are aspects for all areas for supporting here. And again, a more popular one coming into play at the moment is invoice finance, certainly for the more expensive capital products or services that people provide, where they can't really be waiting the 30, 60 or 90-day credit lines, but they need ideally to get the cash in the bank quicker than that, and have that facility where people can have an invoice finance aspect brought into the business. Digital growth and technology adoption, again, out of pandemic, lots of people are pivoting their business with regards to investing in new digital, either through e-commerce or platform-based, and becoming so much more interactive with their customers. And there's also potential grant funding for these kind of investments as well. And that's also something that we look into on a one-to-one basis when we speak with a business. Where do you sit in terms of potential grant opportunities from across the region, which we also investigate for you as well. Okay, so again, through pandemic, people are looking at new routes to market. How can we change our business? Our model prior to pandemic wasn't working particularly well. We need to innovate, we need to grow. What do we need to do to get to new potential markets? It may be new areas of the business that you haven't been in before. So therefore you need that research and development to look at new markets and seeking out those new business opportunities. Rather than staying where we are, what could we do to grow? What could we do to innovate? And that all comes down to their research and development. And again, as we all know, there's R&D support through government support, if it's from a technical or innovation aspect through government funded projects. And also we have the opportunities there with Innovate UK grant funding for government support. If it's something significant you are looking to do or change or want to investigate, we have people that we can introduce you to for those kinds of conversations for future research and development with your businesses as well. Thank you, Kevin. Next slide. So how the process works engaging with myself. Initially we'll have a one-to-one call. We'll talk about your business, where the business sits currently, what it is you're looking to achieve going forward, and what are the current barriers, what is holding you back from doing what you want to do in the business. So we'll have that initial one-to-one engagement either through this process or a one-to-one meeting, but at the moment it's more along these lines of a virtual meet. And then we also look at the business in terms of, if we want to prepare for investment, if we want to take our business to be presented to an angel investor or to a capital venture business for business growth, I will work with you in the preparation of the pitch deck development. which is quite a significant area. And this will demonstrate your business quite clearly in terms of what problems are you trying to resolve out there in the market, what are you doing to resolve them, and what are you bringing to market that would disrupt and do something different than what anybody else is doing. So we can work on with you with the pitch deck development, the business plan, the forecasting, and pitch your business in a way where it is opportunistic. It looks like we're really wanting to prepare this business for brilliant growth and expansion, and therefore we can then get you in touch with the local funders or funders that I work with on a UK basis to pitch your business going forward. Next aspect there, and this is quite big word for us, but it means an awful lot for us at the Growth Hub: collaboration and being collaborative. We are able to introduce significant people, key people locally to help and support and guide you in your businesses. I attend majority of networking events all across the region, meet lots of people, and come away with lots of referrals and lots of ongoing conversations with businesses in terms of who could we introduce, who could add knowledge and value. And this costs absolutely nothing to do. So even if we're not looking to raise funding for your business, from a collaborative aspect, it's well worth doing and engaging a conversation either with myself or my colleagues here today, Christine and Andy as well. So that is a huge opportunity for all businesses, and I would suggest that would be a great thing to do. So once we've had the initial call, we prepared the pitch deck, we've exhausted all routes to market in terms of what we think we should be doing with your business proposition. And then I analyze in terms of who could we introduce your business to, as I say, across all those sectors we saw on the first slide. So I've got a database of over 130 funders now across the UK, and it's growing on a monthly basis in terms of where could we pitch to, who is the relevant conversations, and I actually introduce you and take you with me to those funders. I don't just give you the phone number or the email address to make contact. I introduce your business, I introduce the opportunity. So we've actually got an engagement even before we start. And sometimes that might be, great, Vernon, it looks fantastic, love to meet the founders, be great to speak to that business for investment, or Vernon, don't think this is quite for us because of, and then we can move forward and find somewhere else. So effectively, it takes all the stress and anxiety away from your point of view of having to see, well, where could we go to with our business proposition? It makes it an awful lot easier. And I stay with you for the outcome. So if you wish me to be there while you're pitching the business, I'm happy to be there in support. Sometimes I don't have to say anything. Other times I will chip in if something I feel has been missed in that pitch, but I stay with you for the outcome through that process. Okay, Kevin. And finally, we do actually operate on our website. As you can see there, the link, we have a relationship with an organization called FinPoint, and they are a business finance finder. If you are looking for a straightforward loan or funding of the business, differently than our one-to-one conversation that's been talking about, you can actually put your needs and requirements into this website, and it is no information is shared with any lender. So it's a platform where you put in your business needs and requirements. I need 20,000 for this, or I need 50,000 to do whatever in your business. And what happens is the platform will send that proposition out to over 100 lenders across the UK, and they will come back if they are interested in speaking and engaging with you for that business loan. They will come back to you, and then you then would give them the one-to-one information, who you are, what you do. So it really is, it's a great way of not building that credit history and getting the declines on the formal registers when we apply for business loans. Once we start applying and we filled an application process, you have a decline, as you know, that is recorded against the business. But this is a great way of understanding in terms of, firstly, am I financeable? Am I strong enough? Is my business proposition strong enough to apply for that loan? And is the business strong enough to repay that loan, repay that debt for straightforward debt financing? So that link there is well worth having a look at. And I would recommend you have a look at that page as well. So Kevin, next slide. So to book a call with me, here is my mobile number and here is my email address. Please drop me a line or give me a call and we'll book a one-to-one session, which I'm more than happy to do so. And I look forward to having ongoing conversations.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Vernon. And I just, you know, thoroughly recommend having a chat with Vernon if you do have any access to finance questions. As you can tell, he's very knowledgeable and certainly has given me some great advice in conversations that we've had before. So thoroughly recommend that. We've possibly got time for one or two quick questions if there are burning questions while Vernon is here. Anybody got a question they'd like to raise now?
Yes, just a quick question from me, Vernon. That was really useful. You know, when you've mentioned there's some funding for startups. So with my scenario, I've gone full-time just under 18 months, but I've had the limited company since 2014. So they're not going to treat me as a startup, are they? Even though that was only done part-time.
There are ways we could have a conversation around that, Jag, to be honest with you. So if you could please make contact, because I have got a provider that would take a view on that. Because were you trading and were you in revenue from 2014 or not? Were you actually
Correct.
taking revenue? You were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. If you drop me a line, we'll have a one-to-one conversation on that, Jag. No problem at all.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Anybody else got a question for Vernon? Nope. Good. Well, thank you very much, Vernon. Really appreciate that. And I think you've sent me some information already for me to forward on to everybody.
Yes, there's a copy of that slide presentation we've just been through for everybody. And Kevin, you're very welcome to send it out to everybody. And look forward to your call and the engagement. Happy to help.
Brilliant.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Thanks.
Take
Vernon.
care. Bye-bye.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Good. Right. So let's go back to the theme then today, and just a couple of wrap-up type slides before we go into our spotlights. We'll make sure we spend most of the time now in those spotlights. So last time, if you remember, as I said before Christmas a little while back, but we left you with a challenge as to what are you going to do differently to ensure that you really do champion execution through the business, through improving your business rhythm. So hopefully there's a few takeaways that you had from last time, and again looking at the fact that very few companies, less than 10%, actually manage to get that balance of strategy and execution working really well. And it is, you really can see, I know this is only data and a slide, but with the businesses that Louise and I have worked with and Liz has worked with over the years, you can really see those that get that combination right really do well. And a big fundamental part of those sort of world-class basics, as I said before, really is the business rhythm. And we went through all of these. So in terms of cash acceleration strategies, then the reason that we look at this, of course, is that obviously cash is absolutely vital to any business owners scaling up, and things like our cash flow within the business, but also the working capital requirements within the business. The more working capital requirement we have for our business, then the more that's going to act as a brake on our growth. So we're trying to scale rapidly, and there's a big gap essentially in between when we do the work and get the money in. Then of course that's going to cause us act as a brake, and that hole is going to get bigger. And so just like the business rhythm, then what we want to do is build in some good financial habits within the business. And we definitely, if you remember when we went back to the 90-day planning idea, then we're looking for a cash improvement initiative every quarter. So we've got that constant focus on looking for a way to either improve the actual cash within the business and or the profitability of the business. So making it a habit, something that we do on a regular basis. Now you should have all had access to this through the resources website, but very quickly want to take a look at the cash conversion cycle, because this is a tool that you can use to help to brainstorm some ideas around where you might look for improvements. And the cash conversion cycle, just want to very briefly explain that, because we often think about cash as just being the end of it. We talk about the billing and the payment cycle and getting the money in once we've invoiced, but of course we've got time and money, resources tied up in our business from the moment we start the sales cycle. Okay, so whilst this cash conversion cycle, every business will have these four elements. Whether you're a production type business or whether you're a service type business, manufacturing or service, you'll have these. You'll have them different lengths, maybe slightly different orders or overlapping, but you'll have these four cycles. So the idea is that every quarter, we'll take a look at these and think, okay, where could we make some improvements? So is Heather all right, Louise? She seems to keep coming in and out.
Yeah, I think she just has a few problems with her internet, so she'll try and get it stabilized. All
right. So this is the cash tool. It's not something we invented. It comes from a very good book, Scaling Up, by Vern Harnish and the team at Gazelles. And essentially, it's taking that cash conversion cycle and then each quarter taking a look at ways that we can improve each of those cycles. So, and essentially, can we shorten it? Can we cut errors, or can we do it completely differently? Are we doing it in a way that actually could be done differently? So this is a really nice tool to help to brainstorm some ideas with your senior leadership teams and identify them, maybe 1 or 2 initiatives that you're going to take forward. So it could be in the sales cycle. Maybe you're finding that there's a long period of time you're doing a load of quotes and they're taking a lot of time to do proposals, and you're not winning very many of them. Well, maybe there's a way that you can improve the quoting or shorten that, for example. So although that doesn't sound like it's specifically focusing on cash, it is focusing on the whole cash conversion cycle and the time that cash is tied up essentially in the business. As I say, you've got access to that tool through the resources. And the other one that goes really nicely with it, and I'll whiz through these, are the seven financial levers. Very simple. This is looking more from almost a profit and loss type statement. But if you think about it, these are really the only 7 levers that you can pull to improve both the profitability and or the cash within the business. You think of your profit and loss at the top. Obviously, we've got the turnover. Well, turnover is made up of price and volume. So what can we do on the price side? Because if we can improve not just the headline price, maybe, but the average transactional value, the average spend, then of course that flows straight through to the bottom line. So it makes a big difference if we can do that. But it's not just the headline price, it's what can we do to increase the average spend. So the old McDonald's script could be things like scripts used to be, is that a large, or would you like fries with that? Those sort of things, because they increase the average spend each time somebody makes a transaction. Volume, in a similar way, it's not just about the number of customers. Clearly that is going to be a big driver, but it's also the frequency of purchase. So what can you do to increase the frequency that people come back to buy from you? I've just had a bulb blow within here, which is right. And then things like cost of goods. So these are all above your gross margin level. So if you can, your direct cost every time you make something or you provide the service, what's your direct costs that go in there? Obviously, again, so if anything you can do, 1, 2, and 3 are really powerful lever effects on the bottom line. And then the others, the standard things like operating expenses, obviously reviewing supplier relationships, all of those good things. But then your accounts receivable and accounts payable. So are you paying too quickly, or are you taking too long to get the money in? So these link back with the cash conversion cycle, as indeed does the inventory or the work in progress. And don't get fooled if you're a service business and thinking, well, we don't have inventory. Essentially, your inventory are your people. If your people are not working productively and efficiently, that's like inventory sat on a shelf, not doing anything productive. So think of it in those terms. So that's a really quick whiz through those. Anything you want to add to that, Louise, before we think about the breakouts?
No, I think we would be better off going straight into the breakouts.
Okay.
Well, into the spotlights. Yep.
Yeah, so let's do that. So what we're after, just as a quick reminder in the breakouts then, is, and we're going to keep you to within 15 minutes for each, because we've got a nice sized group today, but we decided to keep as one, so we're going to have to keep it moving. What we'd like is a really nice short update on what's gone well, not gone so well since the last session, or any from your takeaways before. Any thoughts you've got on the cash concepts, but then your challenge for the group, which could be around cash. It could be around any of those things that I've just whizzed through, or it could be something else that you've got that is a burning challenge, whether it be an issue or an opportunity that you think would be most useful to get the input from the rest of the group on. So that's essentially what we're after. And if we could remember, when we go around to ask, let's think of some probing questions rather than necessarily top recommendations, but we'll have to combine that. And what we'll do is use the chat as well. So we may not get to ask everybody around every spotlight for a question. You may not have the chance to do that from the timing, but what you can do is any burning questions you can put in the chat, and equally we'll capture takeaways within the chat to keep things moving.